Today, I want to talk to you about adjective clauses. I have a great worksheet in the description for this video. Download that and you can fix it on your computer or print it and fix the mistakes on that worksheet and then use this video as your answer key to see how you did. Let's get started. First, baseball is the only sport in which I am interested in it. Now, let's go back. Baseball and it are the same thing. So when I make an adjective clause, one word needs to go away, and that's going to be it here. Another issue is I have in twice. In is okay in both places, or in either place, but not in both. I need to choose one. Usually, people would put in at the end of the adjective clause, but it's also possible to put it at the beginning. My favorite teacher, Mr. Chu, he was always willing to help me after class. I have this subject, and I have this reduced adjective clause here. So it's reduced from who is Mr. Chu. But my problem is I repeat my subject here. So I'm saying the same thing twice, really 3 times. So we don't repeat a subject like that in English. So my favorite teacher, Mr. Chu, was always willing to help me after class. Number 3, it is important to be polite to people who lives in the building. I have this great adjective clause here, who lives in the building. Okay. Now, when I say who, the noun that replaced is people. So it should be people live, not lives, because people is plural. The next one, me sister, this should be my sister, has 2 children who their names are Ali and Talal. Who their names are. This is a problem. What this should be is not who there, but whose. If I want to use possessive in an adjective clause, I use whose. That one. There you go. W-H-O-S-E. So, my sister has 2 children whose names are Ali and Talal. He come from Venezuela. That is a Spanish-speaking country. My first problem is just basic subject-verb agreement. That should be comes here. Okay. But I have Venezuela, and then I have this adjective clause that gives me extra information about Venezuela. I can see Venezuela has a capital letter too, which means the adjective clause that gives information about it needs to be separated with a comma. Okay, and when I use commas in adjective clauses, I cannot use that. I have to use either who or which, and in this case, we will use which. So, he comes from Venezuela, which is a Spanish-speaking country. Next, there are some people in the government who is trying to improve the lives of the poor people. Here I have people, and that's the verb that goes with who is trying. So this who is people, which means this verb is a problem. It should be, there are some people in the government who are trying to improve the lives of the poor. Next, a myth is a story expresses traditional beliefs. I have this verb, a myth is, subject verb, but then I have this other verb. So what happened here is someone forgot to put the relative pronoun to make the second part of the sentence an adjective clause. So what I need is either which or that. A myth is a story which expresses traditional beliefs, or a myth is a story that expresses traditional beliefs. Here's a long one. There's an old legend telling among people in my country about a man lived in the 17th century and saved a village from destruction. There's an old legend telling this should be that is told. That is told, or that is told is what I would need to put there. Okay, so there's an old language that is told, or I could reduce that to just told. There's an old language told, or old legend told among people in my country about a man, and here I need who. Who lived in, oh, turn that off. Who lived in the 17th century and saved a village from destruction. Next, old man was fishing next to me on the pier, was muttering to himself. I need an article here. An old man was fishing next to me on the pier. Oh, okay. Here, I have this verb, and this is the subject. Old man was muttering to himself. So what I need is to make this an adjective clause. Was fishing next to me on the pier. So it should be an old man who was fishing next to me on the pier was muttering to himself. So I need who to make this part of the sentence an adjective clause. All right, the road that we took through the forest, it was narrow and steep. Well, my problem is I have the road and then it, and that's the same subject repeated twice. So even though I have my subject here and I have all these words and then I have my verb here, I don't need to repeat that subject. So just the road that we took through the forest was narrow and steep. Next, there are 10 universities in Thailand. 7 of them are located in Bangkok is the capital city. Okay, this is messy, but first issue is here, this needs to be passive. So that's just an ED on located. 7 of them are located in Bangkok. It's here is the adjective clause issue. 2 ways to fix it. First of all, after Bangkok, that's a proper noun, so I need a comma for what comes after. And I could say the full adjective clause, which is the capital city. Or I could get rid of which and is and just say Bangkok, comma, the capital city. Both ways are fine. Okay, at the national park, there's a path leads to a spectacular waterfall. At the national park, you see here I have there, and then a verb is, but then I have this other verb. So I need to put this other verb and make it part of an adjective clause. The way I would do that is by adding which. There we go. At the national park, there's a path which leads to a spectacular waterfall. At the airport, I was waiting for some relatives, which I had never met them before. 2 mistakes. First of all is which. I'm talking about relatives. So relatives are usually people. So we would use who here instead of which. And this, where you see them, is the same as relatives. And when we make an adjective clause, this pronoun, who, replaces some word, and it's going to replace this word. At the airport, I was waiting for some relatives who I had never met before. I could also use whom in this situation if I wanted to. It's almost impossible to find 2 person who their opinions are the same. 2 issues. First, it should be people because there's 2 of them, 2 people. And when I see who and their, that means I'm trying to get a possessive idea. And if we want to use possessive for adjective clauses, we use whose. Whose. So not who there. Next one. On the wall, there's a colorful poster, which it consists of young people who dancing. Two problems. First here, which it consists, it needs to go away because it gets replaced by this relative pronoun, which consists of a group of young people who dancing. I need a better verb, probably are dancing, maybe were dancing. The sixth member of our household is Pietro. That is my sister's son. My problem is I need a comma after Pietro because this is a proper noun with a capital letter. So if I have an adjective clause after a proper noun, I put a comma. And if I do have that comma in an adjective clause, I can't use that. I need to use who or which. In this case, Pietro will use who because he's a person. Before I came here, I didn't have the opportunity to speak English with people who English is their native tongue. Oh my God, that's a mess right here. I have this possessive, their native tongue. Probably, I want to say whose native tongue is English. Before I came here, I didn't have the opportunity to speak with people whose native tongue is English. That would be the best way for that one.